Hey guys, fishing and stuff. Today, we're building a weld cart and a weld table. So stick around. I've had a lot of people ask to show how I made my weld cart and my weld table. And though this is not a fishing project, I use my weld cart and my weld table to make a lot of fishing projects. And speaking of fishing projects, if you've not checked out my channel page, go check it out. I got a long list of DIYs that'll help you save some money. And if you find something you like, click subscribe and click the bell so that YouTube will notify you when I post videos and you can watch them. All right, let's stop wasting time. Let's get into this weld cart build. So on the weld cart, I started with a toolbox that I got from Home Depot. I think it was around 180 bucks. You're going to need to take the drawers out. It'll lighten it up and it'll make it easier to work on. Then we're going to take the wheels off of it. But keep those wheels handy because we're going to be reusing those on this build. Next, I cut some 1.5" angle iron. And we're going to cut it the same width as your toolbox. But we're going to leave some overhang hanging off the end that'll accommodate whatever kind of gas bottle you're using. And there's tons of different sizes of gas bottles, so whatever size you're using, that's how much overhang you're going to need on it. After we get all angle iron cut, we're going to weld it together. When we get that done, then we're going to weld the wheels that we took off the toolbox back onto the bottom of the frame. If you got any welds sticking up, grind them down. Flux core. After we weld our frame together, then we're going to set our toolbox in it and make sure that the toolbox fits snugly in there. Then we're going to do the measurements for the brace on the back that's going to hold your bottle. I use 1" square tubing for this. After I cut it long enough, I welded it into place. And I always keep an extra set of batteries on hand for your welding hood because that can put the brakes on a project fast. After I got the 1" square tubing welded in where the back of the toolbox goes, I used some of the leftover 1.5" angle and welded across the top for stability. Then I cut some expanded metal and fit it in where the bottle's gonna be sitting. I had some 2" flat stock. I cut it in half and I welded it over the expanded metal just to cover the ends and clean it up a little bit. And it's a good thing to do for safety. I put some more 1" square tubing at the end of the frame for stability, and it'll hold your bottle in place. For the piece that I needed to hold the bottle, I needed something curved, and it was either take a flat piece of metal and roll it or get something that was already curved. My daughter had a helium bottle left over from a birthday party, so I thought, well, I'll just use that. But take the plug out of the top of it and make sure that thing's empty. And even after I figured out it was empty, it still kind of scares me to cut into any kind of bottle because I ain't no big fan of getting blowed up. So I took a hacksaw and got my hole started, then I used a jigsaw to finish it. It can be a little bit sketchy when cutting into something like a gas tank or a helium tank, so be careful. The material the tank's made of is very thin. So I put 2 pieces of angle coming out, and where I welded it onto it, I kind of tack welded it in like they do auto body work because it'll just burn through it if you try to put a long bead on it. And when you're finished, the results are different than most weld carts, but it turns out awesome. And the thing I like about this project is that you can keep stuff in the drawers. I mean, I keep extra wire, I keep my magnets that I use when I'm welding. You can keep clamps in it. You can keep your extra consumables in it. And the best part is you can keep your helmet and your weld jackets in it. But the weld cart turned out pretty awesome for no more money than I had into it. With the toolbox costing $180, I may have had 220 bucks into this whole weld cart. I don't even think I did. It was mostly just scraps I had laying around. By the way, people are always asking me what kind of welder I have. It's a Millermatic 211. It's one of their smaller welders, but it does really good. And I'm running 75-25 gas. I like this welder because I can run it on 110 or I can run it on 220, whichever one I want. When I first started welding, I buy these little 1-pound spools a lot. And I used to use flux core before I built my weld cart. These little 1-pound spools are cool to keep on hand so if you run out of wire. But I found that the bigger spool you can put in your welder, the better off you are because it's just going to last forever It's gonna be cheaper in the long run. I mean, the little spools, I used them a long time, so I'm not knocking anybody for doing it. But you put one of these 5-pound spools in and they last forever. At least for doing DIY stuff, they last forever. It's really simple to make, but I really like it. All it really consists of is 4 pieces of 2-inch square tubing, 4 pieces of 1 by 2-inch square tubing. Now the bottom of it is just 1.5-inch angle iron flipped upside down. And I welded some expanded metal in it because I wanted to keep my saw down here. But that's really all there is to it. The top is 1/4-inch hardened steel, which is really hard to cut. I got it because I can sand it all I want and I'm not really going to hurt it. It's bulldozer plate, I think. But if you ain't got a plasma cutter to cut that stuff with, don't mess with that because that's hard to work with. I welded this 1-inch square tubing across the back and I just put it on there to hold clamps. I welded this little 1 by 2-inch square tubing on here that was left over and I didn't paint it. It's just metal. Well, the reason I did that, I can take my ground from a welder and clamp it on there and it grounds the whole table. So anything I lay on it, it's gonna be grounded when I weld. That's something that's good to do. I found a piece of pipe, cut it and welded it on here. And it's just so I can hang my gun in it when I'm not using it. Down here on this end, I welded a receiver. And it's basically like a receiver that goes on a pickup truck. And I just welded it to the weld table. I made this video about this bandsaw build I made. And you can basically slide it into the receiver and it's just an extension of your weld table. Well, I also got one of these and I'm mounting my vise on it and I can put it on here and use it and not take up space on my weld table. That's a pretty good idea too. But all in all, I really like my weld table. And I'll be honest with you, I build it to have something to weld on, but I use it way more than I thought I ever would because you can't hurt this thing. You can paint on it, you can sand the paint off. You can beat and hammer on it with a hammer, don't hurt it. I mean, it's like the ultimate craft table. So I have 0 regrets building this weld table. My weld cart and my weld table turned out awesome. I use them a lot. I really use my weld table a lot more than I ever thought I would because it's a steel, indestructible table. I mean, you can hammer, beat, bang on it, and you can weld on it. And I love the way the weld cart turned out because it's got all those drawers and I can keep everything that has to do with welding in them. But if you're a beginner welder or you're looking for a weld cart to put your stuff into, this is an awesome way to go. It's really simple to build. It's not that expensive when you compare it to stuff you can buy for welding. Hey guys, I appreciate you watching. If you like this video, click that like button. And if you're not subscribed, then get on that. And as always, I appreciate you watching and I'll see you on the next build.